watching for my wife. So even at my lowest of low, living homeless under the bridge, or maybe it was in prison, hanging out for heroin withdrawals, I always had hope. I always think about my mum and my dad and my family, and the stuff that they would go through as well. Christmas Day 2009, my life changed completely, mate.
All right, what's going on, everybody? That was tonight's guest, Danny Shannon. I'm Daniel Unmanageable. This is Hard Knox Talks, coming at you from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Treaty 6 territory, and the homeland of the Métis people. Let's bring in Danny. What's going on, man?
Hey, Dan, I'm very good, mate. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I am so impressed with the setup, mate. I'm like having a ball already. We haven't even started.
Yeah, I know. That was awesome in the countdown.
You.
We're just spouting off and making noise. It's amazing. I love it.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
So, is there anything that you'd like to say before we jump in tonight?
No. I mean, look, I love my life. I smile way too much. It's my job as a man in recovery and just as a human being to try and carry the message of love and hope to anyone out there struggling, bro. Let's hit it.
Let's hit it.
This is Hard Knox Talks.
All right, before we dive in, I just want to let our viewers and listeners know that tonight's live production is sponsored in part by Prairie Harm Reduction in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and the Elizabeth Fry Society of Saskatchewan. All right, Danny, where do you want to start, man? You're doing so many things. I know that you're working on an app. I know that you've done a lot of publicity. You've got a wild following on Facebook and on TikTok. And man, you inspire me. Why don't you start at the beginning, man? Tell us how this all got started.
So, then you want to hear where the connection started or where my social media started?
Well, let's start let's start at the beginning. You know, what was it like growing up?
Yeah, good. All right, mate. Yeah, look, I picked up. Look, I always say I come from a good childhood. I think it's important. I got this beautiful, loving mum, right? And the reason I think it's important to mention this is that, you know, when I first landed in drug and alcohol recovery, let's say back in, 2000, I started to compare myself with some of the horrific stories that I would hear out there, you know? In saying that, right, I got this beautiful, loving mum, right? My old man was a legend too, but he taught me everything I shouldn't know. It's like black and white. Mum was this beautiful woman and is this beautiful woman who has taught me all my values and my morals. And my old man was an absolute legend. I went and visited him yesterday, but he would visit me every week in jail. He taught me everything I should know. He helped me support 17 years of addiction. Mum tried to stop it. But anyway, mate, I picked up.
So were they together? Were they together during this time or were they apart?
Mostly apart. But by the time I picked up drugs, I think at 14, I wonder if they were still together. They were. Given a one last hurrah at the age of 14. And they did that for me, trying one more time. And basically I got drunk, stoned, and there's these thing called cream bulbs, nitric oxide, nangs. I got on them when I was 14 up in Bundaberg, and that's where my journey began with addiction. Previous to that, I'd had a couple of cigarettes, maybe a sneaky sip of beer or something. But at the age of 14, and the reason I say this is because I don't necessarily identify with that thing of feeling like an addict before I picked up, right? I had a pretty good childhood. Yeah, my dad taught me I am my dad. I have to fight hard not to be my dad, actually. But my dad taught me all the things I probably shouldn't know. My mum taught me all the good stuff. But the age I picked up drugs and alcohol, I just never stopped. It's like the beast was unleashed that day when I was 14, when I got drunk, stoned, and on the cream bulbs. And, the next probably 20 years from that date was just a whole lot of trouble, jails, institutions, pain, hurt, and misery, I always say, mate.
So you
Yeah.
weren't craving it. You didn't crave it before you picked up. I mean, for me, like I couldn't wait to get my hands on the bottle.
Sure, yeah. Nah, Dan, I don't relate to that. Mate, I was a really popular kid. I don't want to sound like a dick, but I was a really good skateboard rider, right? And what we would do before that age is we used to go breaking into schools and building sites and ripping off the building material, and we'd come and build ramps at my house. Like we'd build skate parks at my house. That's why my mum was a legend. We had all the boys over at my house every day. So I was quite a popular kid. So I had a pretty good childhood previous to that. But when I picked up, it slowly but surely over the next 2 years, by the time I was 15 and a half, 16, I'd used cocaine, magic mushrooms, LSD, pot, alcohol, all
What was your
coke,
favorite?
everything bar heroin. Everything bar heroin. I didn't think I'd ever use heroin, Dan.
Mhm.
I was always scared of heroin. I remember sitting at the front of the drug dealer's house. I'm about 15. We're in a car. I'm with me mate, my best mate, by the way. He used to rob me and I'd rob him. That was about the consistency of our friendship at the end, anyway.
Mhm.
I was sitting there and he said, "Come, we're going to buy heroin." And I remember feeling scared, bro. And I think it's important that I share that because I was scared. It was peer pressure. But sure enough, next thing you know, we're in a dingy little flat in Cabramatta. No furniture, and Wok was about to inject me with heroin for the first time. And mate, if up until that point I had lost a little bit of control with my drug use, that was the beginning of the end, mate. That day I shot up heroin for the first time in a dingy little flat in Cabramatta.
Mhm.
Life was dramatically about to change. Within a couple of months I was locked up for the first time in boys' homes. Um, by the time I was 18, I've been charged multiple times. I spent my 18th birthday in Parramatta Prison. That's one of our local prisons here. It's not open anymore.
So did it feel
By
wrong
the
at the
age I was
time?
21,
Like did,
oh, you mean
when so after
when I
you used
first used?
heroin, yeah, like after you used heroin and things went
Oh, yeah.
dramatically wrong, were you like, "Oh my god, things are going wrong," or were you enjoying the ride?
Bro, yeah, look, let's talk. I jumped forward a bit there, didn't I? Let me talk. Often people say, "What was it like?" And I don't want to get too
No, I don't.
involved, but um, it was it was the most amazing thing in the world, to be honest. Like I never,
Of
if
course.
I, for someone who never thought I wanted to feel different, that day it's like I'd found God. That day that they put that drug into me, it's like I'd found a whole another life of contentment, confidence, numbness. I
Mhm.
didn't know I needed it. Daniel, I didn't know that I needed it. Like I
Yeah.
said, I thought I was quite a popular kid, not to sound like a dick, but the day I used heroin for the first time, shit just really quickly declined. If I
Mhm.
was popular up until that stage, it wasn't going to last long. I can tell you because by the age of 17, all my mates had dropped off. I was using alone, by myself. Um, I was that kind of addict, even by the age of 17, 18, who was just out of control. I just had no control over the obsession and compulsion to get and use more drugs. I would use dirty needles in the back of flats in Cabramatta.
Mhm.
I had a serious motorbike accident, stoned. I got T-boned at the front of Cabramatta police station in 1996. Which was pretty early into my using. I think I was about 17. I
Mhm.
had a near fatal accident where I was in a coma for 3 days, right? Listen to this, right? I'm in a coma for 3 days. I come out of this coma, all my family surrounded me, and I've got a big heroin habit by this stage. All my family surrounded me. I wake up, I've got a fractured femur, I've got metal plates in my leg, my head's busted up, and all I can think of when I come out of this coma is I need to get heroin.
Mhm.
Because I was withdrawing too, and I just remember my family being there. I remember this is crazy, right? But in the stall next to me, there was another patient who's still in a coma, right? He's got his missus there. And I can hear her saying, I'm putting $100 into your top drawer. And I'm onto it. I'm this 18-year-old, 17-year-old heroin addict, and I'm in a coma, just come out of a coma. I've got all my loved ones around. They're so happy to see I'm alive, and I can hear in the corner of my ear, there's $100 being slipped into the top drawer of old mate's bed. And next thing you know,
that's the only thing you hear. I'm sure your loved ones were talking to you at the time, right? And you're just like, bing.
Yeah, man, and I'm sure lots of people can relate where I'm coming from if you've been where I've been too. Like,
Donna, can you relate to that?
Like, so, and
Yes, absolutely.
if you're a heroin addict, you can relate to it. Come on.
Well, fentanyl was our poison, but
I was more than meth.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
Meth injected.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Cool. Well, same. Yeah, isn't it? Well, look, I was an animal. I had this obsession and compulsion that was, it led me through a lot of trouble. Anyway, listen, I ended up getting rid of my family. I said, listen, guys, I need some rest. I told them all to go. I managed to drag my ass out of that fucking bed, got into a wheelchair, stole the $100 from old mate, went down the lift, got in a taxi, and went out to Cabramatta to get on. I had $100, right? You could get 2 for $50 back then. I needed some smokes, and I needed to pay for the taxi fare. I got back to Liverpool Hospital. I managed to haul my ass back up to the bathroom, shot up the heroin, hopped into the bed, and by this time my leg was pissing out blood. I busted staples out of my leg, and then I hit the buzzer, and I said I need help. And I think that was the day I really realised that maybe I've got a problem with drugs, mate.
I mean, maybe. Like you were considering maybe. So... was that
Do you know what?
The end?
Can I just add, Daniel? I was so naive then. I would have been able to have been pressing the morphine drip. I didn't even know about morphine. I'm only young. But don't worry, I learned after that. Anyway, I got the morphine drip. But previous to that, I could have just been hitting the buzzer, but I didn't know about that. So, yeah, look, that was my introduction to being a heroin addict, basically.
Mm-hmm. So, clearly you healed. And you realized something about yourself in that experience when you were well again and out of the hospital. Did you choose a safer path, or did you just get right back on again? I haven't even started telling the story yet.
that was just mate. That was just the beginning, Like in some ways, I guess. I thought I was invincible, Like that was just the very beginning of my journey. Let me say, I had a pretty serious head injury, right? And there's still side effects now. Often people say to me, Danny, you're fucking slurring. And it's true, like I know I slur my words a bit. Maybe I'm a bit lazy, but mate, since then, that was just the beginning of my journey, bro. That was really just the early days. I went on for another 13 years. For longer. I was 18. I didn't quit until I was 34. So I went on for another 17 years getting fucked up. Like in that time, I between the age of 18 and 28, I spent probably the majority of that time in prison. I fell out of a 3rd-story window of a drug and alcohol rehab trying to climb back in after escaping. Hit the pavement from a 3rd-story window, and the drunk tank around the corner. Security guard heard me hit the deck and probably screaming, called an ambulance, and they hauled my ass off to St. Vincent's Hospital. I
bet you that guy still remembers you. Just minding his own business, and here comes Danny, fucking splat. Like, holy shit, man. He knows your name.
The drop was so big that I hit the 2nd-story windowsill, and my feet collected that, and I cleared the whole footpath, and I hit the road. And they reckon because the reason I didn't do that much damage is because I was so stoned on heroin. They reckon your body was just so super relaxed that's why you didn't do any serious injuries. I couldn't walk for months, but yeah. Yeah, man, look, I would throw in a couple of other things. I cut my Achilles tendon in half it sprung up my leg on Easter Sunday, let's say 2000. That was another horrific injury. And then I also escaped from prison in 2001. Scaled a 24-foot barrel fence. Had the water police, pole air, dog squad all chasing me. I managed to get away to Perth, and got
In a what?
pinched on Valentine's Day.
What's a Perth?
Perth is
So-
just like a city. Or
Yeah,
community
thank
in
you.
Australia.
It is
Oh.
just another city.
See, that's why, she's very, very helpful. That's why we got her a fancy mic.
She's very. I'm sorry. What's your name? What's her name?
Donna.
Donna. Hey, Donna. So rude. I don't even know if Dan introduced you properly, Donna.
It's
Man,
okay.
shh, just never mind, bro. Fuck, you know her name now. Holy.
I did, Donna. Hey, yeah. So look, there was a lot. Look, that's the mess. We could go on about the mess for hours, brother. Like, let me try and sum it up. I was the kind of heroin addict who had no values, no morals. I could not wait to get that next shot into me. In fact, I was so desperate to get that next shot into me, I wouldn't even stop at a chemist to buy clean needles. I would literally pick up dirty needles in the back of flats in Cabramatta, flush them 3 times with water, and just shoot up my gear, mate. I would shoot up in stairwells of flats, shoot up with coppers banging on the fucking window, and I'd be putting a shot away before they'd grab my ass out of the car. Like, just that desperation. And I hurt, stole, and robbed from family members. I was the fucking lowest of low, but whatever. I was just a heroin addict who had no fucking control. And I'm sorry that I hurt people.
Well, of course. So what finally did it? Was it one pinnacle moment, or was it like a series of events? Like, tell us about what turned the light on for you.
Sure. All right. Well, mate, because if you remember, I said I had this beautiful, loving mum, right? I also had a mad sister too. They were always on my fucking ass to go to rehab or detox, right? So I kept going. This is ridiculous, but I've had 50 rehabilitation attempts. Detoxes and rehabs, 50. I was known on a first name basis at St. Vincent's Hospital, St. Leonard's Hospital, Fairfield Hospital, Cumberland Hospital. Like, I used to go in there all the time, right? But I would leave like a day. I'd go in there stoned, because of course you don't go to detox straight, right? I'd go in there stoned, and by the time I straightened up, I'd pack my bags and I'd leave, of course. And I'd leave, and but on the 49th attempt, right? I took drugs in again. This is the last attempt, right? This is my last attempt. I took drugs in again. I should mention too, I was trapped on the methadone for 13 years. There's a whole nother story. We could definitely go into that if you wanted to hear more about that. But I never thought I'd get off the methadone. And there's this incredible treatment centre here in Sydney that got me off the methadone. I thought I'd be on it for the rest of my life, mate. That place absolutely saved my life, But before I jump into the last time, after being on the methadone for 13 years, I remember I had 30 days abstinent, and all that was playing on my head. I don't know, let me know if you guys relate to this. Because I was on the methadone, I could never feel a shot of heroin properly. So all that was on my head is, I'm finally off the methadone, I need to have another shot of heroin, Sick, twisted, fucked up thinking. But I did. I threw it all away again, and I went and got on, I used heroin again. I was back at ground one again. I then decided I was going to go to Fiji. I did a geographical to Fiji because
Fiji.
I thought there was no drugs in Fiji. Yeah, tropical. I thought there was no drugs in Fiji, right? And this is really important that I share this, because this is when I became an alcoholic overnight, right? I identify alcohol as being a drug. This maybe isn't for you guys, anyone else listening. For me, alcohol is just as bad as shooting up heroin, right? But previous to that, I didn't think so, because I never really drank alcohol. I thought alcohol was sweet. I don't have a problem with alcohol. Well, I landed in Fiji, and by day 2, there's no more heroin. There's no hard drugs. I'm drinking Fiji bitter at 8 a.m. in the morning. So I become an alcoholic basically overnight. And I'll tell you what it was. I was drinking to change the way I feel. I needed heroin, methadone, all those drugs to change the way I feel. I had become this empty shell of a human being who did not know how to function without the use of a drink or a drug in me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just fucked up. I just could not cope a single day. Yeah, that just hit home then when I was just reflecting. And anyway, mate, my last attempt, I was in a detox, as I said, and I was doing everything wrong, mate. I had drugs on me in the detox. I ran out. I went to a short-term rehab. I took my phone with me. You weren't allowed to do that. I got involved in this criminal thing where I was doing the tax rort where we were ripping off the government for $6,000. Everyone was doing it, so of course I did that.
Mm-hmm.
This is my early days of recovery, but
Oh, so
I
you were
was doing
sober
all
doing
this stuff.
this?
Yeah. But I started doing stuff that I'd never done before. Daniel, like we are talking about the 12-step fellowship earlier. You see behind me, there's a couple of books, or shit, wherever it is there,
Mm-hmm.
that you mentioned. I'm a member of 12-step fellowships, and I started doing some things that they suggested I do. There's 5 things. There's 5 things that I can, if somebody's struggling, I can check in on these 5 things and see, probably offer them some good solutions why they're what they're missing, right? Number 1, how is my connection with other human beings? They say an addict alone is in bad company, and
Mm-hmm.
also the opposite to addiction is connection, right? When I first heard that, I thought, fuck off, what are you talking about? I don't need people. Like, people shit me. In fact, trust me, everyone used to shit me. I hated people. So, number
Mm-hmm.
1, how's your connection with other human beings? Number 2, like, how is my meeting attendance? Maybe it's counseling. For me, it was 12-step fellowship meetings. Like, how many groups am I being involved in to help me become a better person? Number 3, do I have a mentor, a sponsor? Call them what you will.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, like, for me, I had a higher power. I had to find something bigger than me, better than me, because it wasn't working what I was doing. And when I
Yeah.
say that, I'm not talking about God. I'm not talking about seeing the fucking light. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
talking about you, Dan. Someone else
Yeah.
in the room, someone who could help guide me in the right direction. And
Yeah.
number
Yeah.
5, and my favorite one is, what are you doing for mankind, like service? I learned that the more I give, the more the universe provides, and I only keep what I have by giving it away. So they're the
Mm-hmm.
5 things that I got involved in, bro. They're
Mm-hmm.
the things that I never did before. They're the things that saved my ass. They are the reason why I'm sitting here right now today,
Mm-hmm.
sharing my story with you, mate.
Mm-hmm. So at what
Yeah.
point? At what point? Now I know you were talking about coming to believe there, and I that's step 2 to me, right? So that's an important one
Sure.
to me. Now, was there a time difference between the time because like if there's something out there that's going to restore us to sanity, we first have to admit that we're insane. So did you realize that when did you realize, like, man, I am fucking crazy?
Look, I definitely had no problem with identifying that I am an addict, and my life is unmanageable, and I
Mhm.
am a fucking lunatic. Like, I had so much evidence to show that. I knew that I had no control over me. I proved that. I proved that through leaving jail, getting a fucking green card to get out, and then using it again and going straight back every time. I was on this thing called drug court. It's like they'll
Mm.
give you a chance, and I would fucking get out and I'd shoot up heroin again. Like, and I'd get sent back to jail. Like, I had no control. So I had no problem with that, Dan, but that didn't mean just knowing something like that, accepting that you're a fucking addict isn't enough. There's this level of surrender. While we're talking fellowship stuff,
Mm-hmm.
there's this level of surrender that I never had. And if I could share this, there's 2 types of surrender, right? There's the one that we hear and we know we got to do it. Oh, yeah, I need to surrender. Okay, I'm going to surrender. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's surrender. And surrender is like, oh, it's like you just fucking let go, man. Like, pain, crying, the misery, the anxiety, but fuck, I just know the drugs are not the answer, like, because it's just going to
Mm-hmm.
leave my ass back there again. And Daniel, before I forget this, I lost the obsession. Like I just told you about 17 years of the obsession, the lunatic that I was. Well, Christmas Day 2009, the biggest miracle happened to me, mate. Christmas Day 2009, I lost the obsession and compulsion to use drugs. It just fucking completely left me. And fucking knock on wood, God bless, I haven't come close to picking up a drink or a drug since Christmas Day 2009, mate. I'll run you through that, and I think this is my turning point. You know, you hear about the fucking crossroads and the turning point. Well, I think this is mine. It was Christmas Day. I was in rehab, and I was going home to visit family for Christmas. Now, let me tell you, I didn't want to go home to visit family, right? But I thought you had to because I heard all people talking about family. I wasn't a family guy. Like I was a fucking I'd spent so long in isolation, alone. Me and family and me and anybody just didn't mix, you know. Anyway. I went home for Christmas Day, and I spent Christmas Day sitting around the fucking family table with, let's say, 15 loved ones. Mum, dad, auntie, neighbours. I had hurt, stolen, and probably robbed every single one of them in my past, you know. So, can you imagine the shame and guilt, right? I highly recommend staying the fuck away from family in the early days. And this is just for me, guys, right? Like, the shame and guilt was so overbearing that I left there that day and I said, you know what, fuck it. I can't do this. I'm going to get on. I'm going to get on. I had to head back to the city. I get to Town Hall Station. I get off the train and I'm at the turning point, mate. King's Cross is to my right. And across the road is the bus that's going to take me back to rehab. Now, King's Cross, I can get on the coke and the heroin, right? Which is what I would have done because it's like I always want to celebrate when I fuck up, when I relapse. I want to go on with it. And coke and heroin were my two faves, right? So, and I'm decided I'm doing it. I'm doing it. But for some reason, man, and we hear the stars and planets align right at the right moment. And this is what happened for me. That day I decided, I thought, what are the consequences? If I go up the cross and get on, I'm going to end up back in rehab, probably, because I've had 49 fucking other attempts. I'm going to end up back in jail. I've been there plenty of times. I could end up dead, or I could get on that fucking bus and do what people have been telling me to do my whole life, and not use, you know, like don't pick up that next drug. And that day I got on that bus. It was the hardest decision of my entire life. I went back to the rehab. I came clean with them about me going to get on, and the horrific day I spent with my family, and the shame and guilt. And mate, it took me 2 days to get over that fucking anxiety, but I have not fucking come close to picking up a drink or a drug since that day. I've never been in that position again. The desire to use and get stoned just fucking left me that day. And I'm not saying that that I haven't worked my ass off. I've worked really, really hard to maintain that. I know I'm a bit emotional. Like it's nice. I really love this feeling. Like I feel really connected to this moment, but it just left me that day, mate. And I've worked my ass off, like 13 years, 1 month and 30 days today. I've been in recovery, working my ass off, building relationships with my family slowly. I've got a beautiful 5-year-old daughter. I've got a 21-year-old son who spent the first half of his life visiting me in jails and institutions. We had no relationship at all, you know. And I'm fucking like, I'm a bit emotional. These are tears of gratitude, brother. You know, like I'm just, I don't really regret anything from my past. If it wasn't for my past, I couldn't be here today with the best life in the world, sharing with you about how I've done it.
So before we get too far ahead, let's unpack that day just a little bit, okay? So surely you've reflected, like before that day, surely you've been like, man, I've been to rehab like a bunch of times. Surely before that day you said, man, I've been to jail a bunch of times. And surely before that day you had felt pain as a result of being around your family because you know how bad you fucked them. What was different about that day? Like, have you gone back and reflected and like trying to decide, okay, what was different?
I think, mate, look, I've been in that position 100 times, right? But that day I considered for the very first time not doing it. I never considered not doing it before, you know? Like seriously at the point, of course, while I was in detox and rehab, I thought, oh, yeah, I don't ever want to use again. But once you decide you commit to using, there's no turning back. There just isn't for me. But that day, I feel like I said, I love this analogy. The stars and the planets just aligned, and they gave me one split fucking second that I walked through that day. You know, I stepped through that split second, and I made a different decision for the first time in my life. I didn't pick up that next drug, and look, at the end of the day, if I hadn't tried and already been involved in this, and the seed had been planted, that day probably would never have come. It took me 49 other attempts of trying. Don't ever give up. That's the message, Daniel.
Yeah.
Just do not ever give up, because that day.
One more thing before I get it, man, because I had a day like it. Here's a question.
Cool.
Did you hear the birds that day?
Oh, fuck.
I heard the birds on that day. When I had that day, I heard the birds. My mom rolled up in front of my house to take me to detox. She's in an old Nissan Altima. The fucking thing looked like a Rolls Royce to me. The sky was blue that day. Yeah. Like I hadn't noticed the blue sky for years. Like, did you have an experience like that?
No, Daniel, I didn't that day. No way. Like, fuck, no. But I can tell you, when I first had that experience, would you call that a spiritual awakening? Is that what you're touching on?
I mean, I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say it wasn't. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, mate, nah, Dad, to be honest, the next 10 months were fucking absolute misery, man. Like, I struggled to fuck. Like,
what about the pink cloud?
Nah, fuck the birds, fuck the pretty flowers, fuck the people holding hands in the streets, people using the word love. I was so anti-gratitude and anti-love. I was still angry, bitter, resentful. But mate, at 10 months clean, I remember walking home from a meeting. It's like 10 p.m. I just got off the bus. It was a beautiful summer's night. I'm walking up and I see the moon, and I just fucked that day. I felt connected like something I'd never, ever, ever experienced, mate. And that day, my spirit woke up. You know, that was the day I had those beautiful feelings that you're talking about. And even though I'd lost the obsession and compulsion to use by them, it was like my anxiety and my temper and my fear. It just consumed me. But mate, look, we all have different journeys. The birds and the birds chirping and all that shit. I didn't get none of that for a good 10 months. People used to talk about how beautiful the grounds were at a certain rehabilitation center, and I used to just think, fuck off. Like, what's beautiful about it, you know? Or yeah, so anyway, to answer your question. I'm glad you heard the birds.
I did, yeah. But okay, so let's go back now. I mean, oftentimes in these experiences, on these journeys that so many of us go through, many of us experience suicidal ideation. Now, for me personally, I didn't experience that until I was already 9 months into my recovery. Did you ever experience any of that?
Yeah, sure. That's heavy. Sure. 50, 100 days, 150 days standing at the bus stop. Standing at the bus stop, going to a 12-step fellowship meeting. It's 11:30 a.m. I've got so much fear about people. I hate fucking people, man. and I'm about to go to a 12 o'clock meeting every day. Now, I remember standing at the bus stop pretty much every single day, just feeling like walking out in front of that bus, mate. Look, this is not really a suicidal ideation. It's a fantasy of just wanting the pain to stop. Like, it's just like wanting that madness to stop. And I think about jumping out in front of that bus daily, mate. There was no joy in my early days, man. Like, it was look, I used to laugh, of course, and I was a rat bag, and I always did things. I always hung around. My formula for recovery, a successful recovery, is 51% nerds of recovery and 49% knockabouts. Like, I connect so much easier with the knockabouts. I love talking shit and bagging people and doing all that, but the other 51% is always going to be on the ball. Like, I used to be a bit of a nerd in recovery, These days I'm just fucking me, But
you knew all the quotes, you knew all the pages, you knew all the things. Is that right?
Not so much. I was just there. I was in the middle, bro. Like, I would be at every meeting. I did 2 meetings a day for the first 2 years. Like, I did like thousands of meetings, in my early days of recovery, and I was involved in service.
Here's a question.
I
got a question.
Fucking NA hotline.
Did you ever think in your early days, did you ever think that the 12-step fellowship was the only way to get sober, and if you didn't do it that way, you were going to die?
Absolutely. And to be honest, Daniel, I still believe that, bro,
Really?
And I share that. Like, I've got a really wide audience, right? I speak with people on TikTok every day. I speak with and I've done a lot of study. I'm all about harm minimization now, right? But for me, I told you the Fiji story. I'm a fucking alcoholic and I can't touch a drug.
Yeah.
I don't like alcohol, but I'm an alcoholic. And you give me a fucking bar of chocolate, I'm going to smash the whole thing. I am no half measures, man. I can't do things. So anything that makes me feel good or changes the way I feel chemically, it's no for me. So the 12-step fellowship is total abstinence is the only way for me, mate. I have not had a drink or a drug or a mind or mood altering substance in 13 years, 1 month, and 30 days. And that's like, fuck, he's counting. But actually, I'm fucking scared to ever have one of those things, So I'm fucking hyper vigilant, mate.
Yeah. No, and abstinence works for me too. I've got 5.5 years in now, give or take a month or so. But I guess maybe I didn't ask the question properly. So like when I said this is the only way, I meant like, did you, when you were fresh in the program, like when I got 90 days in and I would go around telling everybody else, like, this is how you need to manage your recovery or you're going to die. Like, the program is the only way for you, not for me, for you. Was that, did you ever have that experience?
No, I've never. I'm super shy. Like, it's crazy. I always say I'm an introvert, right? But that reminds me of being an introvert because I didn't talk to people for 2 years, bro. I had a push bike. I used to avoid every fucking person I could. I did all the service stuff, so I had to put out the fucking chairs and I had to open up the meeting, but I stayed away from people. So just on that note, like, I didn't give myself a chance to do that because, but let me just say, Daniel, I tried naltrexone implants. I tried fucking rapid detox. I tried religion. I tried hypnotherapy. I fell on the nod. I went on the nod with the hypnosis. So I did believe that this is the only way it was going to work for me.
Yeah. Cool, man. So where did the rubber hit the road for you then? So when you got sober, you're in the program, you're doing the service, and you said that the first how long was just shit for you. You wanted to jump in front of a bus. What was it that changed? Like, do you remember the thoughts, or were you at a certain part in the steps, or like, what was it?
Yeah, sure, bro. Look, I've completed the 12 steps multiple times. I got involved in a steps group in about my 3 years of recovery where I was connecting with like 12 men every Wednesday night, and we'd come together and we'd do a bit of fucking work on ourselves. We'd answer a couple of questions. We'd share our answers. That was a beautiful way to connect. and start to understand the power of connection. But mate, really, it started. It started that day when I had that spiritual awakening when I seen the moon, man. Like my life started changing for the better that day, and I swear to God, like it just gets better and better and better. I'll just briefly say because I want to share about encapsulate before we run out of time. And we can definitely go back. But let me just share what my journey's been like. Like I've had the most incredible journey on earth. Like I honestly think I'm the luckiest man alive. And it's because of this, right? I started working part time um, as a bartender. I'm laughing because this is one of those things. This is the rebel in me. Like at 6 months clean, I started working at football events, being a bartender. Right. My
What could go
sponsor
wrong?
said, "Don't do that. You can't. You can't do that." I said, "Yes, I can." Um, but anyway, and then I kept that job for about 2 years. I became like this bar operations guy who was traveling all around Australia doing all these different sporting events, monster motocross, MotoGP, fucking skateboard events. Like, so I was just in charge of bar operations, but my life opened up. Like, it was just the fucking coolest thing ever. I couldn't get out of Cabramatta for 17 years. That's where I used to purchase heroin, right? I couldn't get out or my methadone clinic. But from that day onwards, my life opened up. I then started saving money, and I was about 5 years clean. Actually, I went on a European vacation. I traveled, backpacked Europe at 2.5 years clean. I'd saved up enough money. I went by myself. Oh, it was one of the most horrific trips ever because I had a bit of a emotional breakdown because I'd broken up with a partner and I was crying in the back streets of Venice. But I soldiered on for 6 weeks. I was doing fellowship meetings over there every day, so that opened my eyes up. I came back. I had some money in the bank. I had about 25K in the bank. How the fuck did I do that? Because I stopped buying drugs. That's how I did it. And I was working a lot, right? And I thought, what if I bought a house? I thought maybe I could buy a house. And I got fixated with this fantasy and I just started saving money for a house. And I bought this little tiny investment property up in Caboolture, here in Australia. Like, I've traveled the world. So I guess I'm just wrapping it up quick saying that I've had the most incredible journey. All I did, bro, is I've continued to stay connected. I've continued working on myself. I continue to give back to others, and I work a really rigorous program. And I have not fucking picked up a drink or a drug. So I know it sounds pretty simple in summary, but and let me say, nobody's given me anything either, brother. Not one single thing has been given to me. My mum and I'm the first person to buy a house in my family. We're poor. You know, mum couldn't give me money. I've had to support my family, so I fucking should, my entire recovery. So, but
So that I was waiting for a spot.
Right? Yeah, sorry.
We will talk about all about that in just 1 minute. But I was gonna bring it up, but then you did. Where's mom and dad through all of this?
Yeah, cool, mate. Mate, I've kept my poor dad. He's still, if I see him up until recently, him having a stroke, he'd still want to go to the pub, have a beer, and slap on the pokies. Like my dad just doesn't get it. You know, I haven't, of course. I have. I've gone through phases where I've enabled him because me and my dad had no relationship. I call my dad Tony. We never had a father-son relationship, you know. But recovery taught me that basically part of my amends to my dad was don't try and change my dad. I don't need to change my dad. He's never going to change. Just let him be him and try and connect with him. So I've been through phases where I've sat at the pub with him while he played the pokies. I've given him money to do it. He's a compulsive gambler, my dad, so he's never got any money. So so my dad is fucked. My dad, he recently had a stroke. He's totally fucked now. I went and seen him yesterday, but and I told him I love him. It's something I'd never ever done throughout my entire life. It wasn't until I got clean in recovery. I took my dad to Thailand about 5 years ago, and I told him this is part of my step 9. I said, Tony, I just want to let you know that I love you. And he said to me, Daddy, I like you too. So that was
Oh.
yeah, which was cool. You know, that's all he needed to say.
Mhm.
And my mum's been a big part of my journey somewhat. She's always been in the background. I've never let her get too close to my recovery because recovery is fucking horrific, man. Like, I don't ever want my mum to know about all of my mates that are dying and relapsing, and I've kept mum at a real distance. She sees me today on social media, and I'll know if she'll comment just in like, yeah, I've kept her very sheltered through my recovery. I really believe in that too. I don't think we should be telling our fucking family members that I want to use drugs or I want to kill myself. Like, that's not for my mum to know that. My
Mhm.
beautiful mum doesn't need to hear that stuff, you know. I can tell my sponsor and my mates about that. But I also spent the day with my mum yesterday too, bro. So I'm 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 a bit of a fucking family man, you know. I went and
Hmm.
visited mum, dad, my sister, my son. I had my daughter yesterday. Um, yeah, I've got a beautiful family and a good connection with my family. It took years. It took a solid 5 years of me working hard at that relationship before I could go to my mum's house and feel comfortable and not shame and
Mhm.
guilt as well.
You know, it
Mm.
was like I was about 6 months ago, I think. I went for lunch with my mom, and she's done it before, but for some reason it stood out to me this time. We were at the restaurant, and she got up and she went to the bathroom, and she left her purse there. She left her purse at the table.
Yep.
You know, and like that was a sign, like, okay, she's not even thinking about whether or not she wants to take the purse to the bathroom with her or not, because I might go through it. So and that was 4.5 years in, you know, so it takes time. It takes time to build that trust, you know. But anyways, let's
That's a beautiful
it was.
thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It was. And
Mate,
she didn't even
I
notice. Like I said, you left your purse here, and she's like, "Oh, I guess I did." Yeah. So I said there was nothing good in it. Why not? No.
mate, you know what, Daniel? Like, it took me a long time to actually say sorry to my mum. Actually, should mention that, right? Like, I'd worked the steps, but and I want to share this. You know, people get clean, and this is again, please. This is just my own opinion, right? People get clean from drugs. They go to rehab. They get even say 60 days or 90 days or maybe 6 months, and they want to fix things. You know, but
Yeah.
thank God I was such a shut down person in my early days. There's no way I wanted to fucking say sorry to anyone, right? And I truly believe that the word sorry, of course, we all know this means fucking absolute jack shit, you know? It's
Yeah.
my actions that are gonna be my true amends. So I literally didn't sit my mum down till I was about 5 years clean. And I remember saying to her, you know what? And it was really hard too. I just told her that I'm sorry, I want you to know that of course I've tried to change my behavior. But it took her 3 or 4 years before she didn't get a phone call, before she thought I was back on the heroin again, you know? So trust is a long, slow journey.
Mhm.
And so it fucking should be. I reckon I spent 17 years causing the damage to my life. I reckon it's going to take 17 years to get square again, you know?
Yeah. So
What do you
let's
reckon?
I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that, and I don't know, like
Yeah.
I was lost in the dark for 23 years. I hope it doesn't take 23 years to come back. I mean, my life is better now than
Yeah.
I didn't see any of this coming. Like I'm a welder by trade. A year and a half ago, I didn't even know how to open a Word document. Now here I am talking to you from in Australia on this fancy mic. I don't even know how this shit happened, man. You know, like holy cow. So,
You're
but
a
anyways,
legend.
well, thank you. How did your social media start? Let's move into that. Let's talk about your social media presence, your influence, your recovery influencing, and all of that.
Sure. I'm gonna just try this. Yeah, good. All right. So, mate. All right. So I just turned 6 years clean and sober. Right. I was working in a rehab. I've spent the last 10 years working in a drug and alcohol treatment center. It was actually the center I went through and got clean in. Back in 2009. Right. But anyway, I was working there. I just celebrated 6 years clean. I was sitting in my office on the opposite side of the desk where I was once a client, right? I remember I was full of gratitude. I was feeling really chuffed, and I was thinking, and I thought, I wonder what I was like when I was entered those doors. When I was sitting on that other side of the table. What was I thinking? How was I feeling? And I came up with this idea, this concept. I know it's not new, but it was a time capsule. I thought, I'm gonna fucking record a video to my future self for my 10-year birthday. Now, that's very ambitious to think 4 years down the track. As in recovery, we talk about keeping it in the day, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I thought I'm going to record a video to my 10-year birthday, right? I did a little bit of research online about some questions that I could answer. I printed them out. I started the camera rolling in a private room. And man, the minute I started recording that video, I noticed this most beautiful, unique, therapeutic process. This was me talking to my future self. Some of the questions was about my loved ones. And I remember thinking, first of all, I hope I'm still alive. I hope I haven't fucking picked up drugs again. And I hope my mum, my dad, and my son are all good too. I got teary. And I noticed myself talking about stuff that I'd never ever spoken about before. Because think about this, like when we talk with a counselor or anyone, we've always got a front. There's some kind of ego attached. But what this was doing was giving me the ability to completely express myself without fear of judgment. And it was such a beautiful process. And as I was recording that video too, I thought to myself, imagine if I started getting every single client that came through our service to record a video to themselves. And over the next couple of years, Daniel, I had about 250 clients record videos. And the feedback was absolutely fucking amazing. Like people walked out of that room saying that they got teary and they never cried and they noticed themselves talking about stuff. People would come back to me a week later and say, "Oh, I remember saying this," and it'd build rapport with me as the worker as well. And anyway, I went on this amazing trip to America, as it happens, in 2017, and I met all these entrepreneurs in the 12-step fellowship because everyone over there's on the hustle, yeah. Like there's no government support like we get here, and I came back to Australia, and I was motivated and inspired to develop a thing I call encapsulator. So we provide time capsule videos, allowing individuals like you and me, people on a journey of personal development, to identify your hopes, your dreams, and your future aspirations. And this video, and that gets locked away into our secure time locked vault, waiting to be discovered at a date that you choose in the future. You can continually update your videos weekly, monthly as you progress towards your goals. When you verbalize your goals out loud, it helps to keep you accountable and motivated. And lastly, like knowing that video is going to be delivered to your inbox in 3, 6, 12 months' time adds this extra kick up the ass because you know what you said. And in fact, what you said is often very different. The way we recall things is actually a whole nother science to that. Yeah, so that's encapsulated, mate, and we're now sort of working with organisations all around the world using this as a personal development and goal setting program by giving people an opportunity to start verbalising their goals out loud, identifying their hopes, their dreams, their fears, and giving people a greater chance to achieve their goals. So that's encapsulated, brother. Wonderful tool for people in recovery, especially like a tool to measure your growth from capturing the essence of who you are today and delivering that to the future you.
We've got some comments.
How's that for a plug?
Oh, it's amazing.
That was
How's
awesome,
that for a
man.
plug?
Yeah.
Thank
No,
you.
I
That sounds amazing.
yeah.
So
we
it's
got
my baby, man. I've been working so hard on this for 5 years, my whole life. And just sorry, before you answer the comments, can I just share that? That's how I got a little bit famous on social media, because I started telling my stories of recovery. I've been blessed to be all over the media. If you type my name, Danny Shannon, into Google, there's I've been featured in some of our big news stations here. They've done little films about me, and my jail escape is always a good fucking hook to get people in, so they always plug in on that. And then
I
they
like
say,
I like the treatment escape
heroin.
where you fell and hit the ground in front of a security worker. Like, I'm sure that guy fucking remembers that day.
Mate, I'm quite fucking proud of that one too. Especially to be sitting here today. But yeah, sorry. That's how. And today I just share my stories. I do lives on TikTok every night. I do lives on Facebook. I get invited to amazing podcasts like yourself. I get to carry the message of recovery. And I even get paid to do it. So it's fucking a good life, mate.
Yeah. No, when passion meets purpose, man, amazing things can
Sorry.
happen.
Mhm.
So, anyways, yeah, we got some comments here. I think I might get Donna to read a couple out. My voice, like, I'm getting kind of sick, but I'll read a couple, and then Donna can read a couple. So, anyways, we got Chantel Garwood here.
Hey,
Chantel, thanks for the comment. Chantel says, you are a true legend, Danny, and you do carry the message of hope so well. Also, you help so many. Hashtag sober squad.
Makes me cry hearing that stuff. She's one of my team members from TikTok, obviously. Bless you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we got Steph Gray with a question. Steph, thank you for the question. Steph asks, did you have access to drugs while in jail?
I was stoned every day in jail. Yes. I was stoned every day in jail. I was at least smoking pot, occasionally using amphetamines, and I was on the methadone every day. So, yes, I was stoned my entire time in prison. Thanks for asking.
Why don't you read Joe's comment?
So, Joe, thanks for your comment and your stars. Hang on, I got to take this headset off. So Joe says, wow, Danny, I love your energy, bro. Completely out of fucking control. Happy recovery. I love it. Love you, Daniel and Donna. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. And
thank you. I know I'm a bit crazy. I'm a bit passionate. I think I talk too fast, but I am so passionate. Like, I love this. There's nothing that lights me up more than doing this stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can relate.
Yeah, I know you can.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. We got one here from John Roosh. John says, you went from... Huh?
Pause for a sec.
Oh.
Skip these two.
Skip them?
Yeah. Go up to the... Let me try that again.
Okay, here, you read that one. You read that one.
Okay, so thanks for clarifying that, John. So he wants he says, let me try again. You couldn't find happiness in the simple things. When did that change? Where did that go?
I don't know. It's gone.
Okay, just a sec.
I think I accidentally deleted it.
I think you did too.
Can you find it in the comments here?
It's okay.
Scrolling.
Here, I'll do one while she...
I found it.
Find it? Okay, yeah, we're making a mess here. Holy shit.
So when did that change for you? You did a video of sitting in the rain, appreciating those simple things. When did that happen for you?
Like, that video was just last year, but like, there's this thing they say early recovery is 5 years, right? Let me tell you, my first 5 years, there was a lot of insanity. Like, there was a lot of joy too. Absolutely. There was so much joy. Like, my life was opening up, but I didn't really find true peace and serenity. I did, but not. All right. What I'm saying is, I love that saying, early recovery being 5 years, because I feel like that gave me permission to be a fucking lunatic for 5 years. And then after that, I often joke about saying I contacted the head member of the 12-step fellowship and asked him for an extension for another 5 years. But anyway, like, I feel like that really worked for me. And mate, the last 8 years, yeah, I've got like the best life, you know, like the serenity and the gratitude and the spiritual connection I have today is it's my drug.
Mm-hmm. It's the new fix.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Got Deneen with the comment here. Deneen says, I feel more alive than ever. Alcohol is the worst detox ever. I'm happy to be alive. Someone told me I probably saved my own life, so I never complain about anything.
Congratulations.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, the comments are still.
Wait.
Oh.
One more.
Okay.
Yeah. This wasn't fast enough on the trigger here. So this one's coming from Kim McDonald over on YouTube. Thanks for your comment, Kim. She says, Danny has helped so many people recovering. Every day he shares before and after photos of success stories. Ask Danny about Patreon.
Oh, you're on Patreon.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Kim. She's one of my patrons. If anyone is interested, I run a couple of support groups each month. Like there's so many people like you talked about. There's so many people out there who are isolated and have no one to connect with. You know, we're blessed. I'm blessed to be a member of those 12-step fellowships, but a lot of people can't stand that stuff. So I run a couple of support groups. They're fucking cheap as chips. And just giving people an opportunity to come together, and we run through a few topics that I love to share about gratitude, kindness, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. And more importantly, give the patrons an opportunity to talk to the coach. You know, like one of my biggest passions today is helping the loved ones of those affected. You know, because even through all the carnage of my addiction, even at my lowest of low, I was always had hope I was going to get stoned. But what about my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, my auntie? What about all those people suffering at home? We got no idea of the effects we cause on them, you know. So I've really opened up my Patreon for loved ones as well. Like I want to give those guys the answers. And I'm not saying I've got the answers, but I do have this ability to gently share my experiences with people. So anyway, guys, you can find my Patreon page. I'll drop it in probably the comments now that Kim's mentioned that. Thanks.
Oh, you're glitching out. You are you back now?
Yeah. Sorry, did you hear that or not?
No, you're glitching out real bad all of a sudden. Something's going on here. How about now?
Let's see if it comes. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think we're good now. So, okay. I think maybe the internet's going to give out on us here. Are you frozen again? Okay.
Yeah, I am a bit frozen.
Yeah, something's going on. Well, let's give it a try one last time. Tell us where we can find you, all the places where we can follow you, websites. Let us have it, man. How do we find Danny?
Danny Shannon on TikTok. Also, my handle is Dan the Man 46 on Instagram. I'm Dan the Man 46. Danny Shannon, but you'll get me under Facebook. I'm Danny Shannon. We got a blue tick over on Facebook. We're verified. Very proud of that. You can track me down on Facey. And mate, I'm everywhere. LinkedIn, fucking YouTube. Just type in the name Danny Shannon. And you'll track me down 100%.
Awesome, man. Okay, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you for sharing your journey and your experience, strength, and hope with our community. We appreciate you very much, man. And take care for now, man. Let's keep this conversation going.
Legend. Thanks, Donna. Thank you so much, Daniel. I'm manageable.
Right. Take care, my friend.
Take care, Daddy.
All right, if you're getting something out of what we're doing here, you can find all our audios on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find us live streaming on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch TV. We are everywhere. So check us out. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again for listening. Take care, my friends. We'll see you next time on Hard Knox Talks.